You are on stage.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Welcome everybody back to the Boardman Gets Paid podcast. This is a special episode edition because of today. I think this is too loud, eh? This music.
No, I'm good on my side.
I'm gonna
It's
bring it
nice and
down just
mellow.
a bit. This is
Yeah.
a production by Tristan, prod by Lindo.
Shout out to Lindo.
Fresh beats by him.
Yes, sir.
But today is a special one because this is today is the ceremony for lifting up the Raptors number 15 VC
Yes.
oh, this side VC
Yes.
um, and retiring his number um, in Raptors history. So thank you guys for joining us. We're going to talk about our kind of Vince Carter moments that we've loved. So
Sure.
yeah, I'm gonna work on that intro music. But anyways, so first
Sounds
off,
good.
first off, Sheldon, how you doing? How's life?
What's up,
How's
man?
this week been?
Yo, it's been a
Hold on,
crazy.
you like the shirt? You like the shirt?
Oh, you got it.
Yeah,
Sweet.
yeah. Adele,
Nice.
of course.
Nice, nice, nice. Spent a pretty penny, I know.
Mm,
I know you did.
no, tell Nazir.
I know you did. No, it looks good, bro. It looks good.
Mm,
It's been a great week. I mean, basketball wise, Raptors wise, this is probably the most fun I've had watching this team lose by
yes,
far.
yes.
I haven't had this much fun watching the team lose. Um, every game has been fun, been competitive. I'm watching young guys grow into themselves, pause, and like just get
A lot
better.
of
Like it's
pauses today.
amazing. Oh,
A
it's
lot
gonna
of,
be a lot of positive, definitely.
but
A
anyways,
lot of dick
we're gonna
references too.
we're gonna get into that in the next episode. So you guys listen out for that.
For
But
sure.
today we want to honor Vince Carter. So without further ado, right after this, we're gonna have a few other people that have said their thoughts. Some people that we know on Twitter and just personally, their thoughts about Vince Carter. So this is more of a Vince Carter tribute. So
Definitely.
first up, let me read one that came through on Twitter.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, she could not be on camera, but we want to still welcome her. So this is Ivana from Twitter. Her tribute and shout out, DJ Ivana Kent. Okay, from day one, Vince was electric. He made a Raptors fan from inception, and former Bulls and NBA fan become a believer in our team. Someone who could see their team as dynamic as other juggernauts in the league. Vince made everyone stand still with our jaws on the floor after seeing his acrobatic dunks and unbelievable athleticism. I'm sad Vince's time as a Raptor came to such a quick end, but I will always remember how I felt watching every regular season and playoff game he played for our team. And the dunk contest and that Olympic dunk. Ooh, that Olympic dunk.
Hmm.
This is how I will best remember Vince Carter as a Raptor. Happy retirement, Vince. It could have been legendary if you stayed and worked it out. I'm sure who said this, but anything worth having is worth working for. Peace, love, Raptors fans. And that's from Ivana. Thank you. Shout
That's
out to
sweet.
Ivana.
That's sweet
Um,
and nice. I like that.
so we started off with Ivana, but now I want to get to you, Sheldon.
Yeah.
What
Hmm.
is your Vince Carter story? What is it? What is something that like you remember about Vince Carter in your time watching him? It could be a
Yeah.
personal. It could be just watching him on TV. It could be a community event. Let me know what you think. What are your thoughts on that?
For me, first of all, Vince Carter, you know, was the guy for me. Um, the first athlete that I was proud to say played for my team,
Hmm.
right? As a basketball fan, I started watching basketball with Michael Jordan in the early 90s, winning championships like my mom, my aunts, my uncles were all Bulls fans, right? Until the Raptors came along.
Hmm.
And, it was like, man, basketball, we have our own, like we have our own thing now.
Hmm.
And obviously, Damon Stoudemire was cool. In the early years, it was cool just kind of like getting used to um, a new team, a new, basketball team in the city. And then here comes Vince, flying through the air. You know what I mean? And it's like growing up, I never saw anything like that. Like just in my own community or outside of Michael Jordan. Like I never seen a guy that could fly like that in the air. Do what he did on a nightly basis. I remember watching games and whatever the highlight was that night. We'd come in as kids the next day like, yo, you saw what Vince did? You saw what Vince did? Like that was it was a moment like as a kid you couldn't wait to get to school and tell your boys like, yo, you
Mhm.
see that? It's no social media back then,
Yeah.
so you had to see your friends and be like in person like, yo, you see that dunk? You see that post over the cam? Like just moments like that I'll never
The one
forget.
over Tim. Oh my god. Tim
Goodness.
Duncan.
Like those moments, I remember those are the first times where I'll watch basketball on my own and I'll be like screaming.
Mm,
I could believe what I saw. Like I couldn't even explain the emotion.
mhm,
Like when you watch basketball with your family, and as a young child, like when someone else cheers, you're like, oh yeah, hey,
mhm,
because everyone else is doing it. But this time you're like watching it for yourself. You start to learn the game, understand the game, and you start to realize like, yo, there's no one else like Vince Carter.
yeah,
There's no one else like this guy. This guy's flying through the air. Man, just those memories like of seeing the highlights and being proud to say, yo, that's our superstar.
yeah. Is there a
That's our
particular Vince Carter moment that like stands out to you the most?
the most. I would say the 50-point game against
Okay.
Philly,
Yep.
or the 51-point game. For me, that's when it went from he's just a dunker, he's just athletic, he's just a popular guy to like, oh, he's really like legit, legit. Like
Hmm.
I remember at that point in time that year or that season, the Raptors were compared to like the Lakers. Like it was
Yep.
the Lakers and the Raptors in Philly, right? That one year, I'll never forget a newspaper, maybe the Sun or the Star, at the
Yep.
time, but um, they had predicted that the Raptors would make the finals. And this is not just Canadian media; it was also American media that were like, the Raptors are really good out of the East. Because if you remember, the only two teams in the East were Philly and Toronto.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, we met in the second round and
Yeah.
came down to a final shot. So
There was
that
also
year,
Milwaukee, but
Milwaukee
Milwaukee
was
soft.
no. We slapped up Milwaukee
Yeah.
that year too. Like
Yeah. Of course.
we were slapping them up left and right. They were trying to say Ray Allen was a better player, and then when Vince played against him, it was
It
buckets,
was. It
buckets,
was out. Yeah.
buckets. So that year was like the year where I'm like, yo, Vince could really be like the next Jordan, like the next guy in the league, and I've never had that before, or we've never had that before as fans, right?
Mm.
Um, so like just those proud moments, bro, like where it's like this guy could really be the next greatest basketball player, and he plays for our team.
Our
He plays
team
for Toronto, man.
was
It was just
drafted
that,
by us. Like,
yeah,
oh
like that
man.
proud feeling that you had, like yo,
Mhm.
he's ours.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are my fondest memories of Vince for sure, for
Sweet.
sure.
So everyone has been, I've been asking everyone, but no one's ever asked me yet. So
What's your favorite
my
memory,
favorite
Andre?
memory, okay, it was the first time I saw Vince play.
Mm,
Like I sat down and watched him play. I saw highlights,
yeah, for
but it was
sure.
against the Pacers. Vince was playing
Yeah,
against the Pacers, and he took, I don't know, was it Rick Smith's baseline?
Chris Mullen, basically. Yeah, Chris Mullen.
And he flew over him. I was like, what am I seeing here?
I've never
What
seen
is
that
this?
before.
And ever since then, the shot, like, it was just Vince
Yeah,
Carter, everything,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So that is one of my favorite moments. Another one was, and more in the tail end of his career with the Raptors, I
yeah.
got to finally see him play in person. I was up
Nice.
there in the Sprite Zone. They
Sprite
played
Zone. Shout out to the
Atlanta.
Sprite Zone. If
Sprite
you know, you
Zone,
know.
yeah.
If you know,
Hey,
you know.
everyone, so many people remember the Sprite Zone, but
Oh,
like,
definitely. Come
I
on, man.
went up there. It was by myself. I went and sat there, and the Sprite Zone people were just cheering. Like we were
Oh
the
yeah.
loudest
Oh
section.
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I was like, I think Atlanta was winning most of the game, and Vince
Hmm.
came back, hit a three to win the game, and that was just like my
Jesus.
first kind of experience with him. But all in all, like Vince really made me want to play basketball.
Yeah. Yeah.
I told my dad when I was younger that I wanted to be a basketball player when I
Yeah.
grew up, and he laughed at me. He said, "You're not getting any taller," and I'm like, and then I said,
Pops knew
"I'm
ahead of
like,
time.
no, 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 no.
He-
I'll be 6'4" at least." And he
yeah.
goes, and he's like, "Okay." And so he took me to the doctor, and then
Yeah.
we're doing the checkups, and he goes, ask the doctor what you want. Ask me. I'm like, "What do you mean?" Yeah, ask the doctor.
Yeah.
Like, can you give me some pills to make me taller? And the doctor laughed like for like a whole minute. I was like,
Give me some
okay.
pills.
And he's like, no, that doesn't happen. You just got to eat well and
Yeah, he was
do
being
your
nice.
best. He was doing
He
my
was
best.
he
And
was
then
being nice.
I remember my dad came back and I was so upset about not getting to be able to get taller. He's like, okay, don't worry. Come, let me and Uncle Brian stretch you out.
Pause. Hey yo, what? Yo.
And then we're gonna pull my head because he used to do this thing where he just lifted my head to oh my gosh. Anyways,
Yeah,
but,
no. You see, but that's the dream. Like he made you like dream. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it was Vince was just a magical player and a magical person because
Mhm.
the stuff he was doing on the basketball court, no one could imitate. Like I've
Yeah.
seen guys who could jump high, you know what I'm saying, run fast, but I've never seen anyone like
Mhm.
do the artistry that this guy has in
Yeah.
air. Like no one has ever dunked the way he dunked, like with such ease. His gather step
Mhm.
has no hitch. Like his oh man, I can go on for days
He
talking
was
about Vince.
majestic.
He
He was
was.
like a dancer in the air.
Yes,
Some of the things that he could do, and
definitely.
man, even till now, I think he can still. I saw a video of him dunking well after just before a
Yeah,
broadcast, and
yeah.
like he's just gifted, man. And
He
yeah,
is. He is
that's my
special.
memory. Just like you,
Special.
my family grew up, loving the Bulls.
Yeah.
Except my uncle liked the Knicks because
Okay.
Ewing was Jamaican, so
Jamaican. Yeah, for sure.
but it was always Bulls for me,
For
and
sure.
Michael Jordan really influenced me.
Yeah.
But it was Vince that really pushed me
Yeah,
to
because he
make
was
me.
ours, man. He was
Yeah,
ours. We could claim him as ours. Like you saw him up close and personal. Going to home games. Like he did
mhm,
a lot of charity stuff too.
yeah,
For those who were lucky enough to be old enough at that time,
mhm,
in the clubs, like Vince was the one who brought bottle service to Toronto, right? Like without him, the club scene in Toronto is not what it is today, which is tops in the world
yeah.
apparently to a lot of people.
One of
So
our special guests told a little story about
oh yeah,
uh,
okay, well,
after
cool. Well,
well, yeah, you guys will hear it later because
yeah,
he does tell a great story. But
nice.
yeah, in the club,
Yeah.
we all fam. I'm
Nah,
just
man, Vince,
saying.
Vince, it was a cultural icon, man. Like
Yeah.
this, as much as those people who were hurt, and I was one of them.
Mhm.
You cannot deny the impact that he had. On and off the court. It sounds so cliche, but when you really look at it, like bit by bit, like he really created a culture here.
Mhm.
Just by playing the game of basketball and
Yeah.
being who he was. Like he was such a media darling. Like he wasn't a negative guy. He's
Mhm.
well spoken, well mannered. Like
His
positive.
mom, his mom was there too
Yeah.
at the ceremony,
Oh
and
man,
she was a huge influence on his life.
definitely.
What did you think about the ceremony? Like, what kind of stood out to you?
For me, I want to say that before I even talk about the ceremony itself, I just have to give a shout out to the Raptors PR for doing an amazing job with this promo and this everything leading up to the ceremony. Because if you talk about execution, and you're in this field as well of marketing, like this has been like top tier. From hanging his jersey around the city, um, to the rebranding of the courts at Dixon. Um,
He did that.
yeah, I didn't
Like, no, I
know.
mean, he did the rebrand of it.
Yeah, I know this. I realized afterwards because when the
Oh,
announcement was made
yeah.
at the rebranding court, I was like, wait a second, is this Raptors or is this Vince? Because how did he not know that they were going to retire his jersey ahead of time? like it was a shock to him. So
There's another
just those
story
things.
coming up in the later
All right,
on.
we'll get to it. Save it, save it, save it. But yeah, no, I have to shout out the Raptors PR team because what an
There's a guy
amazing
named
job.
Jordan Hayes, Jordan Mr. at
Yeah,
Mr. Sticks on
yeah,
Twitter. He's the
yeah.
one that ironed the banner that they
Oh,
lifted up.
yo,
No creasing. I was like, he's like, and there's a video of him like ironing. I'm like, holy. I said,
no creases at all.
no
We do not.
creasing. You
We
know,
don't do creases in our banners,
he
baby.
knows that. I was like, just going up, it looks so beautiful. And of
Yeah,
course,
absolutely.
Drake had to open his mouth today. And
Oh no, 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 no. Let's stay on the positives first. Let's stay on the positive. You're moving too fast. You're moving too fast. So back to the ceremony.
yes.
Um, yeah, so leading up to everything has been awesome for me. Just watching, the video tributes, the different marketing tools that they've used. It's
Hmm.
been like top notch. I wish I can just collect it all, like on a DVD or something, and just just hang it somewhere and let it
Yeah.
play just all day. Anyways, the ceremony itself, it's
Mm,
just well executed, man. Like
yeah.
having Vince walk out on his own with his family,
Hmm.
was beautiful to see. And I didn't,
His
I
mom
don't think I've
too.
ever seen his family before. This is the
No.
first time I'm seeing his family, like,
Yeah.
out in the open. Beautiful family.
Hmm.
But yeah, just everything, just having the former teammates there, the ones that, people really connect with, like the core guys, having them there, having T Mac there
Hmm.
was awesome. And I have a theory about T Mac in a minute. I'm gonna get to it in a minute.
Hmm.
um, having his mom there was beautiful.
Almost
And
forgot JYD. Oh my god.
Yeah, no, you can't. I think that was on purpose because he did the same thing at the Hall of Fame ceremony.
Oh, to
So I think they
JYD.
had He like
Oh,
he listed all the teammates
yeah.
and then he's like, oh yeah, JYD. So I think it was a play on that. I think it was a play on that. But yeah, no, bro, it was perfect, man. It was
Mhm.
absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
The little VC letters that they had out there and the
Mm.
big lit up blocks, that was beautiful to see. And
May I
then the
ask you?
banner,
Let me ask you this, okay?
yeah,
You saw Vince come out, and it was almost like a Hillsongs.
yeah, bro, it was
It
magical.
was like, and
And
he's
they should have had the organ
crying,
out there. I'd have been on the drums.
and hey, hey,
It was beautiful.
and he's crying, bro. Can I ask
Oh man,
you, the
I
people
cried.
that
Yes, I
hate,
cried.
the
I
people that
cried.
hate that he left? How do you not see the emotion? Like, how are they still hating that? Tell me.
Those people that hate Vince, which I can't even say it like out of my mouth, because it's that hurt that so deep. When a girl breaks up with you, the girl that you really liked, not the
Mm-hmm.
girl that you were kind of iffy about, but the girl that you thought was your future wife or your future spouse, and she left you.
Hmm.
It's hard. It's hard. I get it, but I've learned to forgive and I've learned to remember the good times, man.
Hmm.
The
Yeah.
good times outweigh that one bad year in 2004 when I got the news that he was leaving for peanuts and an Alonzo Mourning fake contract that was never signed.
Hmm.
Uh, um,
Hmm.
like all of those good things outweigh that bad year.
Yeah.
So I can't hate him. People say, "Oh, he quit on the team." That's nonsense.
No.
Oh, they say he didn't want to dunk anymore. That was nonsense.
Hmm.
Right? If you listen to Vince's speech tonight, he shouted out some names. I don't know if you caught it in the beginning,
Yep.
but one was a trainer's name
Was it the
that
guy with the
got
glasses?
that got fired. So
Yeah.
apparently he got fired the year before Vince was traded, and that was one of the reasons why Vince was upset.
Oh yeah, he
Because
was, and he said he wasn't sure if he's gonna be here, but he
yes,
shouted him out. Yeah.
so people have to remember, the Raptors organization now is a top tier organization. The Raptors organization back then was not it. You know what I mean? It wasn't it. They weren't this world class organization. They didn't have a Masai. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? They didn't have guys like this who understand what it means to have someone like Vince Carter being honored in the way he was tonight.
Yeah.
Right? So we have to remember that it's not just about Vince's decision. It was an organizational decision. Obviously, it came out later that he didn't want to leave,
Hmm.
and management said, "Oh, we're still doing it anyway." So I don't want to harbor on the bad stuff, but we
Yeah.
have to remember it's not his fault. It wasn't Vince's fault.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was a collective. It was a collective.
And yeah, I think we should. I think it'd be great to close that that door or that side of
I
the
think I
chapter.
think it's close. I
Sure.
think
Yeah.
tonight did that for me. It did that, you know.
Yeah. Mm.
But we have to talk about this banner, bro.
Hey.
That banner was beautiful,
Hey.
absolutely stunning.
Hey. Yo, designer.
We've seen banners before.
Yeah.
We've Boston has a little number thing that they got going on. Shout out to them. They probably can't do a bunch of banners of players because they got like 100 numbers that are retired, which I
Hmm.
don't know how that works. But um, every player that's passed through Boston gets their jersey number retired. Anyways, um, yeah, no, I've never seen a banner with the player in action
Hmm.
along. Like it was, oh my, dude,
What other
tears.
picture would you have seen from Vince? Like that is like it's this picture, right? It's this.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So like that is a perfect like I don't know. Tonight was just
Amazing, bro.
magical, and then for the Raptors to
Amazing.
win too, it was magical, man. It was
No,
tonight was
tonight was
magical.
perfect. Like I
Yeah,
said, have never had this much fun watching a Raptors rebuild, and we've been
yeah,
through a lot of them, but I've never had this much fun. I think the reason why I'm having so much fun, I don't want to move off of Vince yet, but
yeah.
you know, uh, um, watching these guys grow, man.
Hmm.
Like this team has a lot of promise, and we're gonna get to it deeper.
Yeah.
But this team looks amazing, bro, going forward. But yeah, let's get back to Vince.
Yeah, so yeah, I want to end this session because now
Yeah,
I'm gonna transition to the other people that want to talk about Vince.
for sure.
Thank you guys for kind of coming out and supporting us on the podcast and answering my questions. And Vince, of course, it's all for
Number
Vince.
one.
Here, right here, right here. But yeah, we'll get to it, and yeah, we'll see you guys later on.
See you on the flip side. Peace.
I feel you, bro. But what's your favorite Vince Carter moment of all time?
I think I'll kind of switch it a bit, and I'll say the most iconic that comes to mind is obviously the dunk contest.
Mhm.
That kind of is what a lot of Raptors fans seem to feel put them on the map, and you can't really, think of the Raptors or specifically that era of the Raptors without him kind of slamming it down, going like this. Kenny the Jet Smith saying, it's over, ladies and gentlemen. Shaq with the camera going like, like all these
Yeah, I
different
remember
things. Dunk contest was much better back then, by the way, too. But yeah, and I think actually All-Star weekends were better too, because I used to have the actual jerseys of the player of the team that the players played on. So that was kind of cool. But to me, that's one of the more iconic moments. Obviously, him jumping over I don't even know the guy's name, the Frenchman.
Weiss, Frank Weiss.
Yeah, where KG was going nuts right after, and I think that ended the dude's career practically.
Yes,
like,
it did.
there's just a lot of moments. There's a lot of frustrating moments with Vince as well. Obviously, he was incredibly talented and put basketball on the map in this specific city, and he is forever going to be remembered in Canada basketball lore, no matter what happens, both the good and the bad. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, I remember. A lot of people have asked that same question. I always talk about that dunk off, which is so interesting because that dunk off was so, like, the other two people that were in it. The other, like, second and third was Tracy McGrady and CB Franchise, and their dunks were like so amazing as well. But it was just Vince Carter was the top. So I talk about is our boy Vince, man. Vince Carter. He is getting this jersey retired. That's blurry. And I'm doing like memories of everyone. So what is like your fondest memory of Vince Carter in your years of watching the Raptors?
Okay, my fondest memory, the memory that when you asked me this question, like one automatically came up.
Yeah.
The dunk de la mort. The dunk of death. Do you remember
Which one though? Because he's had a few.
There's only one that's called the dunk of death, and I celebrate it every time, every year. That's the one in the 2000 Olympics, Sydney, Australia, right?
Yes.
Number 8, right? He tried.
Yeah.
He tried to do a behind the back pass it to his other guy. This is Team France.
Yeah.
Vince Carter steals it, picks it from the 3rd point, 1 step, 2 step, and he dunks over what's his name, Frank Weiss or whatever.
Nice. Yeah.
Frank Weiss. Yeah. And what's funny is that he's number 15.
Yeah.
Right? So Vince Carter, number 9, dunks over number 15, 7'2", the dunk of death, and the whole crowd went wild. So the reason why it was my fondest memory is because before Instagram, before Vine, before like all of that, my school, my community, my church, my work, everybody was talking about it, trying to watch videos of it on Daily Motion, E-Bombs World, YouTube, Friendster, High Five, Black Planet, Asian Avenue. Like, it was everywhere.
Oh my gosh. And you know, the interesting thing is that after that dunk, that guy's life went on a really bad wheelspin. He was actually drafted by the Knicks.
I know.
And they did not keep him. And
Don't come back.
Like, oh,
Don't come.
Poor guy. It's so unfair too, because you know, it was a turnover. And I just love the Kevin Garnett story about that. I think I've already told it, but it's just like Kevin Garnett turned around thinking that Vince was gonna pass him the ball.
Yes.
Didn't realize that Vince stole the ball.
Yeah.
And then the next thing he knew, he saw Vince flying over the guy, and he shoved Vince so hard because he was just so amped in the moment.
Before that, though, Gary Payton thought he was gonna flop over, didn't he? And also, yeah, you're right. Kevin Garnett thought he was gonna get the pass.
Yeah.
But they were celebrating 2 different things. You heard about that too?
Yep.
Oh my god. Vince Carter was like, I jumped too far and I made it. Yeah. Kevin Garnett's like, I just saw this guy dunk over a guy, and he almost punched him out.
What guy, bro? 7 foot. We've never seen that before. Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
we are here to talk about Vince Carter. He is getting his jersey retired. It's long overdue. I want you to tell us your favorite memory of Vince Carter. It could be personal. It could be something that you watched on TV. It could be even like something that he did in the community that really resonated with you. What is Vince Carter to you?
Oh man, Vince Carter changed the platform of basketball in general. But for me, one of the biggest moments is when we were at grandma's house transitioning from Mississauga to Brampton, and the Raptors were playing the Knicks in the playoffs, and it was a closeout game. And I told my dad, I was like, hey, it was this family bonding time. I'm like, we're gonna order suicide wings and crazy breadsticks. If Raptors win, I will eat the suicide wings and the crazy breadsticks, and so would my dad. I remember Vince Carter dunking at halftime that he took off from the foul line, almost one hand dunked, and the Raptors closed out the Knicks that game. I remember just chugging the suicide wings and crying and cheering at the same time because the wings were so hot. And that was the first time that the Raptors, I think, made it out of the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Ever.
Wasn't
And
that
we were
that's
so
the Iverson
excited.
year, right? That's the Iverson year.
Yes. And we were so excited that year. It was crazy. Oh my gosh. So, oh man, that was just one memory. And then I remember seeing Vince Carter in the Olympics jump over the 7-foot man. And I was at school at Brampton Centennial Secondary School.
Why
And for the rest of the day, the next day,
like it's a real school. Your Brampton Centennial, okay.
And the next day we started jumping over each other, trying to beat Vince Carter in the hallway, like legit trying to just like the Vince Carter dunk. And he literally influenced a whole generation of talent, whole
Reminds
generation
me,
of players.
do you remember the Zidane headbutt?
Yes.
He went around headbutting people?
So does Zidane influence a whole generation of players, non-soccer players included. Bam!
Bam, right in their chest. Oh, that was amazing. That was amazing time, yo.
Yes.
I think that's where we got the dunking over people in
Yep.
at people's doors and stuff like
Yes.
that.
Yeah. It was good times, man.
Do you remember? So tell us. Do you remember watching that? Was it live? Did you watch it live? when Vince Carter jumped over that Frenchman?
No, I was in school at the time, and someone showed me a highlight after. So I went home and watched the game,
Yeah,
and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is crazy!"
I
Like I
think I
couldn't stop
remember.
watching it.
I think I
And
remember watching the game, and it shocked me because
yeah,
he stole the ball, and the camera like shifted,
yeah,
and then you just saw him like go over the guy, and the poor Frenchman just went like,
yeah,
and he went, and then it just went over, and KG was like, "What in the
yeah.
world?"
Yes,
Because
yes,
we
that was
always
life
said,
changing. And then also there's this Clipper game.
yeah,
The game against the Clippers, late night. I'll never forget it because that was my first time. Vince Carter almost got me like boxed by my mom. So I remember I think it was D Brown that threw him the lob,
yeah,
and he caught the ball with one hand, rotated his body, and then dunked it.
yeah.
I screamed at the top of my lungs, and it was a Clipper game, so it was like almost 12 o'clock at night. I went,
I remember though, and he
my
was
mom,
like, his head was above the rim,
yeah,
turned and just popped it. And you're like, what?
yo, all I heard is, Michael McKoy, stop the foolish guys, get out the house. What is going on? What is... And I'm like, yo, it's Vince Carter's dunk. My mom almost came down and boxed me because of that moment. But that was one of the like greatest alley oops I
Yeah,
have ever seen a human body just. Oh my gosh, it's mind blowing. For those who don't know Vince Carter or don't know his highlights, go to YouTube and just watch just his Toronto highlights.
yeah.
Okay, there's like a 27-minute
Actually,
video
there's
of
there's one
just his
there's
Toronto
one
highlights.
highlight with New Jersey where he met Alonzo Mourning at the rim when he was in New Jersey, and he met him and stopped and then oh.
Oh.
I know that's blasphemy to watch that, but like it was
No,
disgusting,
it's good.
bro.
It's so good. Oh my gosh, even the one over Tim Duncan, that's one of the most underrated ones. He sat down on Tim Duncan, hang on the ring, and then pulled up. I was like, yo, it's just so clean. And when Vince Carter did 360s, he did reverse 360s. That's what people don't get. He didn't jump on the normal side of a 360. He did reverse 360s. Oh my gosh. And the power in his dunks. Oh my God.
Thank you. We're going to talk about Vince Carter. What's your favorite Vince Carter memory or moment? I know you're a little young to actually have seen him probably play, but what is your kind of Vince Carter moment that's like your favorite?
I think the Vince Carter one I would have to say is like when he did the All-Star game or dunk off and stuff, when he was doing like crazy acrobatic dunks.
Yeah.
And how the players wanted to do it, like Terrence Ross, Donovan Mitchell, and every other player idolized it. And participating in a dunk contest now is not the same, but like, you know, that dunk contest then was amazing, bro. Like
amazing. What do you remember? What your favorite dunk was? Did you watch that?
I don't think I watched it, but I think it's the one that Terrence Ross did. I think I remember it. It's like when he did, I think, the between the legs, I think, and then he just threw it down. That's what I remember. Because I remember, like, when I was a kid, I didn't watch that dunk off. I think I was, like, born then. So I kind of got an idea, like, when I watched it on, like, YouTube and stuff. And then, like, also I always hear, like, Vince Carter, like, when he was, like, on the team, he would always make an impact. And like we remember that time we beat the Bulls, I think it was the Michael Jordan Bulls. I think like now it's just crazy what he did.
Yeah, he had some really great like shots and dunks and stuff like that. I remember I'm way older than you, so I remember those days. Yeah, us about your favorite Vince Carter moment or story that you could remember. You know, when you were in the past, anything that comes to mind.
Yeah, so obviously, first off, thank you for having me on this edition. Obviously, I'm only 20, so I wasn't alive when Vince Carter, or I was alive, but I was small when Vince Carter was a member of the Raptors, so I didn't really remember, but obviously there's something called YouTube, and I can see highlights from it. One of my favorite moments from Vince Carter was the slam dunk contest, and I think Raptors fans remember that. Let's go home, ladies and gentlemen, that famous line. And that was one of my favorite ones from Vince Carter. As you can see, the Raptor logo is doing that Vince Carter dunk.
Yeah, right there.
So
Yeah.
right there, yeah.
Which dunk was your favorite of the three that he did?
The between the legs dunk,
Oh, that was
like
sick.
the Raptors one that the logo is doing right now.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that was such a great. Yeah, you were young then, but that was such an awesome. Like when he entered the dunk contest, people forget how loaded that contest was. That had Tracy McGrady and had Stevie Franchise in there, and there was a few other players that were really good dunkers, and just Vince Carter was just the best. And it was already anticipated that he was going to win because, that's when Shaq had the little camcorder going. And it was such an awesome time. It just, when he pointed to the stands and it's over, like that was really fun. That was a really fun time. Oh yeah, let's start off with the favorite Vince Carter moment, then we'll go into the Raptors moment momentarily.
Okay. So I say my favorite Vince Carter moment has to be the dunk contest itself.
Okay.
So how old? I was probably around like 9 or 10 at the time of that dunk contest. And the backstory to that is that the dunk contest for years prior to that was terrible, right? There was even a point where I think they had to stop the dunk contest for a couple of years just because there wasn't a lot of stars joining it. It just wasn't very competitive at all.
Yeah,
so
sounds like
Vince
now.
Carter, yeah, exactly. So Vince Carter coming back to that to the dunk contest, he basically made everything fresh again. And at that time, it was incredible. And so a lot of people will talk about the fact that, now his dunks aren't that impressive, which is ridiculous to me. I get the fact that, yes, people are doing crazier dunks now, but you have to understand for that time period, the dunks he was doing, nobody had ever seen.
Exactly.
When he did that 360 windmill, the entire building, I remember being a little kid watching that. Everybody went crazy. I've never seen something like that. When he did the through the legs, at that time, nobody was doing anything like that. And then the arm in the rim as well. That was absolutely incredible.
You remember when he did the 360 windmill, and then he bounced back up afterwards, and he was right the rim again. And we're like, what the heck is going on here, bro? So that's your favorite dunk then of his?
I would probably say out of that dunk contest, the first one he did was probably my favorite. I mean, it's between that and the through the legs. Because like I said, the through the legs at that time, doing a bounce. I remember Tracy McGrady. I don't know why he got T-Mac to be the one to pass him the ball. He should have got who was on the team at the time, like Alvin Williams or someone like that to, give him the lob. But it was between that dunk and the through the legs, I'd say.
Yeah. I still think that was one of the best dunk offs ever because Vince Carter was showing up. We knew he was going to win, but Tracy McGrady had some dunks, and Stevie Franchise had some dunks in that tournament.
That is the crazy thing because, like you mentioned, Steve Francis and T-Mac had amazing dunks, but they were all overshadowed because of what Vince did. Yeah. If Vince wasn't in that dunk contest and then it was just T-Mac and Steve Francis going at it, you would have been like, those dunks were amazing too, but Vince, he stole the show.
And I don't believe that Vince's vertical is 37 inches. I think this the only reason why they say 37 inches is because the rim is only 10 foot, bro.
Okay.
That's literally the only reason why. Because, man, awesome. Okay, well, let's go. Okay, so tomorrow night, November 2nd, Vince Carter's jersey is going to be lifted up to the rafters. I want to hear, what is your favorite or fondest memory, something memorable about Vince Carter throughout the years that that resonates with you, that you want to share?
Honestly, man, shout out to VC. I want to first say, because if you look at a lot of at our memories as Toronto basketball fans, you could say VC formulated a lot of our earlier experiences as it relates to fans that that been through that era.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of people have been through the the Kyle and DeMar era, but a lot of us have been here since day dot. And so I will point on a couple very quickly. For me, one of them was the game that I think he hit that 3 on us or something to win the game, I think, or it might have been his second time back. But I remember buying tickets when I was in high school just for that game. And
when he came back from Jersey, when he was in Jersey, bro. Let me just tell you something before you finish. I was just talking to Coach Roache. He was at that game too. He bought the game. He bought a ticket, thinking he'd watch Vince. Vince got traded, and the ticket coming back, his first game was that game. So it looks like you guys were both in the same building.
Bro, let me tell you something. Back in those times for us, like, still in high school, man. So it was the little money we could put together.
Yeah.
We're like, bro, we gotta go watch this game. And so
Was Sprite Zone still there at that time?
Sprite Zone, that's exactly where it was. And our little bit of savings at the time, back when the world was a little bit more different and minimum wage was a lot more different, things weren't so bad. We threw all our little savings up into that ticket, and we went there. Unfortunately for us, it was a sad ending, but starting the Vince Carter sucks chat, unfortunately, sorry to cuss, I don't want to get into no trouble, but starting that chat one time in the fourth was pretty dope. But really the experience of having that, you know how people Cleveland had that LeBron came back moment, you saw how it was like that. It was our moment, and so we did our best to kind of like show our disdain, but I mean he didn't care. He came back to bite us, but it was just that, to be on that side of sports history was really dope, because you see it on TV for whatever team you support, and you're like, yo, how does the atmosphere in there feel? So that was like a novel moment. It was kind of like, okay, this is how it feels. The second one for me is the neighborhood that I come from, the Dixon Road area. Vince Carter came to our neighborhood, and that in a fateful day, I think it was around, I don't remember the exact year, but he came in and built this ball court, man. And for us, a lot of us young men that grew up in that neighborhood.
That was in Jungle, right?
No, it was in Dixon.
It's in
the west end of the city. On Dixon.
Yeah, like near, like south of Albion, right? Like that area.
Yeah, if you keep going down past Rexdale, you go down near the airport. We're like,
okay, yeah.
And so a lot of our biggest fondest memories from people from that neighborhood were fostered on that basketball court, and it got a lot of us out of trouble, and it also allowed us a safe space, an arena for us to showcase our athletic and basketball skill. But more importantly, it was just for us, an area for us to be ourselves, and to have that area just for us, and it was like, oh, we're coming from school, you know what I'm saying, yo, let's meet up there after you get your little work done or whatever, you eat, whatever. But more than that, also from now being grown, you see that we were able to hone in a lot of those soft skills that people need in whatever line of work you do now. We're talking about like those soft skills like teamwork and leadership, and so his impact on my neighborhood, building that basketball court, translated to me personally and to many people that I know. And so that not only made us big Vince Carter fans, also big Toronto Raptors fans, seeing him in the flesh. And lastly, I'll make it really quick, sorry to go on for a bit.
No problem.
He did say that day, that before he left, it was a wild, funny day the way he left. He did say he would come back, and he would come back to the neighborhood and maybe play or something. He did say he would return. And it just so happened that a couple weeks back, or just a little bit back, within the month, Vince Carter comes down and Masai Ujiri's at Dixon Road on we call it the VC. He's at the court. He's on the VC. And Masai Ujiri tells him he's going to the Hall of Fame on the VC at Dixon Road.
Oh,
and that's amazing.
Wait, hold on, because I think I saw that video. So that was that was there. Oh my!
And he came and he remodeled and rebuilt the courts, including the back where the cages were, where the kids used to play, and that wasn't even built. So he came and he did a double thing. So he came back, he rebuilt it, and it's kind of history for us in a way, because we informally got a Hall of Famer on the VC, and it happened to be Vince himself, and he said he came back. So a little nice wrinkle of history, and I'll say one last thing. It was funny because there was a video making rounds of the day he came, and it was like a CBC News, I think, or CP24 or something. They did a little piece, and what was funny was, shout out to my boy Powerhouse. He sent me the video on Twitter. He's like, bro, you need to look at this video again. And I skipped through the video. I didn't really look it too through, because I remember the fond memories of the day and me looking for shirts, the Vince Carter shirts. But he's like, scroll to this moment, and that's little old me making a little extra cameo in the news report.
That is sick.
I'm like, that's crazy. That's history right there. Show my mom, she was laughing. So, that's what the whole Vince Carter as a player, as a Toronto Raptor, great, means something to me. But by extension, some of the things and initiatives he was able to bring means something to me too. So,
you know what? I'm really happy that you brought that up, because those are the things that people forget about Vince. One thing, he never left any of his charities and stuff like that. He still kept them in Toronto. I think he even kept his condo like well after he left in Toronto. And then the different community things that he was doing in Toronto, like you're talking about the basketball courts, and there was a few other things that he was doing. He still kept them up because he was he loved our community and he loved Toronto. I know he's there's certain people that really don't not happy with him, but I still think it's time to kind of forgive. People were young. I think it's the full story wasn't fully vetted. I even played in the last podcast I had of Sam Mitchell confronting Vince, asking him, talking to him, and Vince is like, I don't want to get traded, coach. And Sam's like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah. And Sam goes, I made sure that I had someone with me to make sure that I have a witness. And he went to the management. Management said, we don't care.
I'll say this really quick. It's unfortunate because, for some of us, we didn't have Kobe. We didn't have an MJ.
Yeah.
But we had Vince. So that was our first introduction to that two guard that was that half mad, half amazing.
Yeah.
Highlights everything. You think of Toronto, you think of Eric and Clark.
Yeah.
And that's where our pride as Raptors fans came from. So that was our MJ or Kobe in a way,
Mm-hmm.
And there was a point in time where he was that guy in the NBA. He was that so that's where our pride as Toronto Raptors fans came from at the time. So it's good to see, and there was a residual impact from what you going on to what you said. Not only did he keep some of his engagements here, but there's a residual impact that people like me felt after what he did. So.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, I want to go back to Vince Carter. This is the reason why I brought you on. Yeah. I'd love to hear maybe a Vince Carter memory or something that really that you love about Vince Carter. He's getting his number retired tomorrow, and I'd love to hear some of your thoughts about that really stands out. And then could you even talk about that coachability from Vince Carter? I've heard things where when Vince was really young, he can do the 1660 and like the fastest anyone's ever done it, and it's oh my gosh. I remember a coach telling me that, and it's these are the intangibles in order to become to the next level, doing the basic things at the highest level kind of thing. So I'd love to hear anything you may have seen, from a coaching perspective when talking about Vince.
So one of my earliest memories actually watching Raptors basketball is Vince's first game. I think it was in the first part of early 1999 or late 1998. He was playing the Celtics in the Garden, as they would say with the Boston accent. And the Raptors won that game. And ever since then, I got hooked on the Raptors. I'm like a 10-year-old kid at that time.
Yeah.
And I get to see this guy, he was like, man, he's so athletic. He's like Jordan. And I'm like, man, he's like the same size as Jordan.
Yep.
And I just became hooked on to Vince ever since. I wore the number 15 in high school. Some people choose 23 to be like Jordan or choose 0 to be like Russell Westbrook. I chose 15 to be like Vince. And I think a lot of people in my generation of anywhere from 30 to 38, whatever it may be, we kind of chose to be like Vince. Vince was Jordan to us, I found in Canada. He was on every night. He's on Sportsnet, he's on TSN, Global, CBC, whatever it was at the time. So that was kind of one of my first memories of Vince, just his first game in Boston, and they ended up winning it. Here's a little fun fact.
Okay.
I came to Toronto my first time, I think it was around 2004 or early 2005. I had never been to Toronto in my life, and I'm from really small town, Nova Scotia. I get to see Vince's return game when he came back to Toronto as a New Jersey Net. Oh. And that was one of the most craziest atmospheres I've ever been in.
Yeah.
The things that the crowd was yelling at Vince were pretty bad. I'm sitting there as like a 15, 16-year-old kid watching this, and just watching that game and that atmosphere, it was unbelievable. And then I think he just ended it with on the game. I can't remember if it was an alley oop out of I remember a timeout play.
Yeah. And he looked at the crowd and it was painful. I remember watching that with my cousin. Oh.
Yeah, I got tickets, but it was way before the trade, so they were kind of, it was at that time it was okay. And then after the trade, I'm like, oh man, I'm going to this game. I was like with a couple of my best friends and my sister at the time, and it was quite a unique experience. Being like, this is my first time ever in Toronto, and then you get to see Vince Carter's return game. So that was it was a unique experience. Your last question, I think that you asked, was something to do with coaching.
Yeah, like
what
what
I
you see as a Vince Carter what makes Vince Carter so special when it comes to being a coach, like coaching him maybe. I don't know anything you may have seen.
It's just talent.
Yeah.
There aren't many guys in NBA history quite as talented as Vince Carter. And I'm not the only one who has said, I've heard people say, he was more talented than Kobe. He just didn't want to work as hard as Kobe, Vince was such a fluid athlete. He made things look easy.
Mm-hmm.
For most basketball players, it might be hard in some sense. Like the dunk competition night, at that time, the dunks that he was throwing down in 2000, he made it look so easy. And some of them today have been replicated. Some of them really, quite honestly, haven't been. Not to the degree in which he did them. Mm-hmm. So it's most coaches don't coach someone like Vince in a lifetime. It's only a select few that coach someone that kind of talent, a Vince, a LeBron. So a lot of these coaches, I'm sure there's an appreciation to coach a talent like Vince Carter.
That is so cool. I never ever thought about that, about never ever being able as a coach to coach someone as athletic and like Vince. That is such a cool idea. Tell me a Vince Carter story that kind of resonated with you. Maybe it's a memory of a game, maybe it's a memory of something you did in the community that you were a part of. It could be even meeting him personally, anything like that. Let me know. Let's hear your story.
For sure. I've never met Vince. It would have been an honor to meet him. But as much as you might hate that I do this, I'll tie it back to Kobe. Okay, so let hold on. No. It's a good story.
Yeah.
So, like when I say I was a Kobe fan, like I was like obsessed. Right. These are just gifts. Like I didn't buy these myself. I'm not as obsessed anymore, but I was definitely obsessed. I remember in the cafeteria in maybe 9th, 10th grade, and I was arguing with all of my buddies. Like those like those long cafeteria tables where you sit with your friends and you just sat there. No, we used to talk basketball like crazy. Yeah. And I remember, like, I was having an argument with them about the fact that Kobe is the best all-around player. I was saying he's a better shooter than Ray Allen. He has better handle than Iverson, and that he could dunk better than Vince. But the moment I said he's a better dunker than Vince, I was like, never mind. Like, I'll take that one back because, like, you could just see like there was a clear gap in difference, and I was just like, no, there's no way. And then it's just every battle that Vince and Kobe had, it felt like Vince was getting the best of Kobe.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And Shaq, like he's friends with Kobe, McGrady, and Iverson, right? So he wasn't fouling Vince the way he would foul other players to kind of warn them not to go into the paint. So Vince would have his way. Like he would blow past Kobe and just like shoot floaters. I remember against the Lakers, he had like a 360 scoop layup, and I'm just like, like, what do you do to stop that? If you could shoot, if you have a quick first step, if you have handles, what is to stop you?
Yeah.
And then listening to...
You gotta grab him. Just kick him in the shit.
Yeah. And then just listening to like... I watched like other podcasts too. So I was listening to Gil's Arena with Gilbert Arenas, Kenyon Martin, and a few other players. Yeah. And they were just like talking about Vince and Kobe. And the way Gilbert Arenas put it was... Kobe had like, it wasn't like God-given talent. He just had the drive for it. He took
work ethic.
Yeah, he took like a Honda, like his body was like a Honda vehicle with like a Bugatti engine or something like that.
Yeah.
While Vince had the Bugatti engine, right? Like he was supposed to be the next Mike.
Mm-hmm.
The man could fly, the man could shoot, the man had handle, like he had everything. But he just could have done a lot more with it for Toronto. But you still gotta love what he did for the game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know. I haven't really interviewed anyone that is still angry with Vince for leaving, mainly because I wanted to keep it positive. And And because I don't agree, I think, think about yourself at a 20, 21, 22-year-old, going through what they're going through, in a new country by yourself kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the people that you're supposed to be trusting is not trusting you. And, you're going to say things. You're young. You're going to say things. It's going to happen. Right. But I still think what he has done for, Toronto. I've watched some videos of what some fans, the reason why I was watching this one video, and the girl, the reason why she's a physiotherapist is because
I saw that this morning.
I watched that video. Although I don't really like the guy that was in. There's two people that were really hateful towards Vince, and it's like when you think about like how long ago that was, and for you to have that vitriol in your body for someone that you don't technically know and has never done anything wrong to you, I don't know. It feels like it's too much, and I think it is very important that we honor people that have done positive things in our community, which Vince has. Like there was one story, I don't know if you watched that video where he went back to that court that he created and revitalized it. And my boy Irks, we call him on Twitter, he told me that that changed the landscape of that hood, because that was this place to be after school. Instead of getting in trouble, everyone was playing ball, right? And it's like very interesting that you don't really know these stories, because all you're hearing is what they're saying in the news. And I do have a huge problem with some of these media personnel and how they talk, and this hockey, like hard-nosed hockey, like, oh man, Matt Sundin's barely won anything for us, and yet they put this guy on the highest pedestal, and things like that. And it's just sucky, because it's a different sport, and it's a different way that you have to kind of deal with these people, and which we are learning as, look, again, it's 30 years of Toronto Raptors. We don't have that same history that, like, say, the Lakers or the New York Knicks have, right? So that's a great story. I really appreciate that. But speaking of that jersey, ceremony, and I would love to. Oh yes, you got it, eh? Oh man, I'd love to hear your favorite Vince moment of all time, like either if it's something that's personal, or maybe it's like a game that you went to, or even just Vince playing in a game that you just were blown away by it.
I'm gonna have maybe a different one than some other folks. Firstly, thanks for inviting me onto your pod, man. It's gonna be a weird thing, but I think it speaks to a lot of like how things change in the city from a cultural standpoint.
Sure.
So the first few years, I mean, for the younger listeners, as they say, Vince Carter used to have a charity event.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was, I think, for about 3 years. I think we had it. And a couple of years later, Nash kind of took it over. But those first 3 years, man, especially the first two, my gosh, man, I have never seen the city popping. It was on Caravan weekend. So it was the Caravan Friday.
Oh, I think was it like it was like oh yes, I do remember those. Oh yeah.
Right. So him, T-Mac, and a whole bunch of other stars. You'll get like Sean Mary and other stars around the league will come here. It turned into quite a different element of the cultural event that Caravan already is.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of positioned not just him, but the Raptors as kind of the forefront of like the changing tides of the city, of like, this is what the city is now. Mm-hmm. This is, and I'm not saying any sort of strange way. I'm just saying more of like the shifts in this case of how the city was changing.
Yeah.
It wasn't your grandma and granddad's Toronto or Hogtown. It was a very different, distinctive part of the movement in this case of how the city was changing.
Would you say it was a little more spicy?
In various ways, right? I mean, there's the obvious thing culturally in this case of the demographics who were going to see it.
Yeah.
But it was also one of those things where it made it something as the place to be, which I don't think, besides maybe the Blue Jays of the championship years, where it became more than just like a sports team, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
That he himself was like an entity those first few years where he himself was, if you're be it the hardcore guys like us, yeah. But like hot girl or girlfriend's got nothing to do on Friday night. You want to go watch Vince play? Okay, that was something you just weren't getting before then.
Exactly,
right?
yes.
That's the thing to do, and we'll go clubbing afterwards. Like there was always what we had amongst our friends. We used to go a lot of games. We had the Sprite Zone back then, so you could get a lot of cheap seats.
Sprite Zone, yeah.
And you always could watch the demographics, right? The Wednesday, for example, the Sunday game was always the family one. If it was more kid, stuff like that. The Wednesday one had more of a corporate feel to it because usually we were playing Sunday, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Yeah.
The Friday game was the one you really wanted to get to.
I think I went to my first game I went to an Atlanta versus Raptors game in Sprite Zone, of course, and it was live. It was so fun.
Right. The Friday was like pretty much we just warm up for the club. Like the Friday was that feel. So it was something to behold. It was really a special time. I remember one Terabana, I'm going out a Sunday night. I'm going to show my age here out by the government. So for you guys, this can know I'm showing my age.
I think you and I are the same age, though. Right?
Yeah, you're probably same age range. Yeah, and we see as I'm heading to the government, they're kind of posted up on a car, handling some business. You know what I'm saying? And I yell out, I say, Vince, look up, I'm back to work.
That was awesome. Yeah, those times. Yeah. Oh man, there were some notorious clubbing stories that a friend of mine knew, especially from the Boston Celtics.
I got one for you right now. Okay, here's one for you right now. You want to get shown my age in this case here. Carabana, what was it? It had to be Victoria Day weekend because they're in the playoffs.
Yeah,
it's a Sixers game. Vince goes to graduation the whole night. Everyone in the city's pissed. The loss is a 1-point loss, whatever the case may be. We're going out for Victoria Day weekend. We're heading to a club out there in the west end of the city. It was at the time, it was kind of the hot popping club. We go in there, we go in line, we're waiting in line like everybody else. All of a sudden you hear a bit of a murmuring behind us. Like, what's going on back here? What's happening? All of a sudden I see Alvin. I think it's Alvin. Let's put it this way. I see a host of Raptors. I don't want to put anyone out there on blast, okay? I think I know who it was, but a host of Raptors, at least about 5 of them coming in. Yeah. Of course, they're going past everyone in the line in this case. And we were vexed the day before, a bunch of us buddies that night because of the game. Because I think it was a Sunday game. I think it was, because it was Sunday night. And we're vexed about the game. We're still talking about the game, and everyone's thinking oh man, those guys will be distraught coming back from Philadelphia. No, homeboys in the club, man. And just to end this point, as Jalen Rose always says, man, Toronto are undefeated, boy.
Yep.
They're undefeated.
Yep. There are stories of Paul Pierce picking up girls. You know what? No, that's not me. I'm not gonna get into that. But Toronto's nightlife, is
to a certain establishment in this case here. They had in the city for decades. Let's put it. They renamed it the Oak Rail. I'll just leave it at that.
Oh my gosh, those. I'm glad that you and I are around the same. I remember those days. Zazu, the question for you. You've been a Raptor fan for I'm not sure how many years, but
since I'll tell you how I became a Raptors fan. I came to Canada in 1999, September 24th, and the first basketball game I saw was the year after, I believe, because September, actually that same year actually, I saw the San Antonio Spurs were playing. I can't remember what team they were playing, but I remember the San Antonio Spurs logo. It was silver and pink. And that was the year Tim Duncan was a rookie playing with
David Robinson, Sean Elliott, all those guys. Yeah, I remember that team.
Power. That was my first introduction to basketball.
Wow.
And I was 9, turning 10. And bro, ever since I found out that same year the Raptors had a team because I'm fresh from Africa, from Nigeria. And we don't know basketball. We don't know basketball. We don't know football, soccer, right? So never watched TV like that because I didn't ever gonna know the TV. So my first experience with TV was basketball, and it was fun watching the Raptors and all my. When we go see my aunts and uncles, hey, the Raptors are playing. Win Scatta.
Please tell us what that means. I have to know. Win Scatta.
Who's Win Scatta? Who's Win Scatta?
Oh!
bro.
I get it now. Oh my god. Yeah.
When Scata is playing,
Okay.
bro, the hype for Vince Carter in the African community in Toronto, bro, it was like a must watch.
Yeah. So imagine everything. Every community was kind of like that. That's amazing because in Jamaican community, I know like Vince Carter. That's it. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, there'll be the African uncles with their pop. They'll when they're sitting around their table. Hey, Wisconsin, you did this. They'll be reading the stats. In the newspaper back then, because back then there was no Bleacher Report on your phone. There was no cell phone.
Yeah, there was just
right.
They'll
flip to the
newspaper.
did this. They'll just. They'll turn on the news and they'll watch the highlights, right?
Yeah.
And then when the game comes on during Christmas days, we'll watch not Christmas days, but like the games before, because we never had Christmas games.
Yeah.
But during the Christmas holidays, we'll watch the Raptors play, and yeah, Vince Carter, man, everyone, Vince Carter is playing. So everyone's come gathers and sit down watching the game. Although we'll lose the game because we sucked back then. But
we weren't that bad, but like we were bad.
Yeah, it's all about the highlights. They love when he dunked on somebody. You're like, what I mean? He did something great, and he always did something incredible every game.
Yeah. So what would you say is your like best like memory or moment that you would say from watching Vince Carter back in the day?
I'm not gonna lie to you. It was the playoff series against the 76ers.
Oh, okay. You're the first person to say that. Okay.
A lot of people are gonna talk about his dunk contest or dunking on someone or jumping over that 7-footer at the Olympic, right? And making the dunk, and again right back on defense, right? Me, I really truly my heart was, fully engaged at a young age in that series because we've never made it to the second round.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it was Vince Carter versus AI and Matomo, those guys. Yeah. And we went to Game 7, man. That Game 7 was.
You went to Game 7? Oh my god.
No, I didn't go to the game, but like I said, that series went to Game 7.
Oh yes.
Right, and so it's like we came down to the last shot, and it was Vince Carter that took that shot.
Yes. And you know what's funny? He didn't take that shot back in Dallas. He did the same shot, remember? And he made it. And I was like, oh! And everyone's salty, but like when we saw him do it in Dallas, that was great, man. That was such an awesome time. I still remember the battles, Vince Carter versus AI, and back and forth. Alvin Williams versus AI. That was like the defense offense kind of thing. Oh man, it was such a great series. And I honestly,
sorry, go ahead.
I honestly believe they would have gave the Lakers at least Game 6. It would have been better. Like I think the Raptors were better suited to play the Lakers than AI and the Sixers.
Yeah. In that series, the third game, 50 points.
Yeah.
50 points.
And AI went and did the same thing the next game.
Yeah, I did the same thing next game, but he had 25 points. But unfortunately, the closing game, he had 20 points, bro.
Yeah,
he almost had a triple double, and it was -1, and we lost by 1 point or 2 points.
Yeah, it was sad. But anyways, we ended up winning a chip.
Could have been our first Kawhi moment. That shot could have been our bounce. Is this the moment? But no, just clanked him out. But honestly, that was my favorite Vince Carter moments, man. Like that series, that whole series was it for me.
Yeah.